Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about some of the most recent news as in the NBA. We're going to be talking about a potential trade for the Portland Trailblazers to trade for superstar Paul George of the LA Clippers, as it was just reported by Bleacher Report and Mark Stein, NBA insider, that the LA Clippers are considering the idea of separating the Kawhi Leonard, Paul George duo, and that the Blazers and my favorite team, the Houston Rockets, are potential landing spots for the superstar Paul George, according to Mark Stein and Bleacher Report. So, huge news there. I mean, I kind of thought that the Clippers would try to shop Paul George, but I didn't think they would really actually try to move him. But if someone could give them a good offer, and honestly, in my opinion, I feel like the Blazers and the Rockets, why they are potential targets, is because if the Clippers are going to trade Paul George, they're going to want a top pick. And the Rockets sitting with the 4th overall pick, the Blazers sitting with the 3rd overall pick, they can get a top draft pick for one of those, with one of those trades. And also, I don't know. I mean, should they trade Paul George? I've been thinking about it, and Paul George has 2 years left on his contract. Would this be a good move for the Clippers to trade Paul George? If you make the right trade, you get the right stuff back from Paul George, and you put that stuff together with Kawhi Leonard and the current team they have, are they still a good team? I mean, I guess the Clippers would still be a good roster because, I'm gonna go over what I think the trade would be to get Paul George in Portland, and then sending the assets to LA. So the Clippers would send Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, the 3rd overall pick, and then also the 43rd overall pick, and a 2026 first round pick, unprotected, to the LA Clippers for Paul George. In this scenario, the LA Clippers get Scoot Henderson. I've been back and forth around the draft on who's going to go number 2 to the Hornets, whether it's going to be Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson. But there was just a recent report recently that the Hornets are ready to select Brandon Miller. The Hornets think that Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball are better on the court together, are a better duo than compared to LaMelo and Scoot, which I personally do agree. I agree with that 100%. And then they get to keep Terry Rozier with those guys. That's a really nice starting lineup for the Charlotte Hornets, with the first 3 guys in the lineup being Rozier, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller. So I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, Scoot Henderson's definitely going to. And that's what I thought for a while, and then I said Brandon Miller was going to. Then I went back to Scoot going to. It's been back and forth to me, but Scoot Henderson will go 3, and the Blazers will not keep the 3rd overall pick if Brandon Miller is selected 2. They are not going to draft a guard. They are not going to want Amen Thompson, or I guess if they really wanted to, if they weren't able to trade the pick, maybe Cam Whitmore would end up going potentially pick 3. I doubt that would be the scenario, but it could be possible that Cam Whitmore could go pick 3 for the Blazers if Brandon Miller somehow were to end up going 2, and then the Blazers kept their pick. But in my opinion, I think that if Brandon Miller goes 2, which it's looking like that's going to happen, the Blazers, knowing they kind of wanted Brandon Miller, he's gone, will trade the 3rd overall pick. I think now, even though if the people in the Blazers organization know about the recent report that and they probably knew this news before that even came out, but the Blazers know that the Hornets are going to most likely select Brandon Miller. It wouldn't surprise me if not tomorrow, if not in sometime around tomorrow or early Thursday or early afternoon, around that timetable, the Blazers will trade the 3rd overall pick to somebody. I mean, and get some help. Whatever they're sending for the third overall pick will be whatever they're sending for the third overall pick. They will end up getting whoever gets the third overall pick from the Blazers will get the third overall pick. The Blazers will help Dame get win now players. So in this case, the Clippers are getting Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, and a 2026 first-round pick for Paul George. So you bring on Scoot Henderson. This is what the Clippers lineup would look like. You have Scoot Henderson at the 1, Anthony Simons at the 2. Who would be at the 3 for the Clippers? I guess. Who would be starting Clippers? Who's there? Kawhi. I guess Kawhi would be at the 3 for the Clippers, since Paul George would be gone. I'm guessing that would be the case. Norman Powell would probably still come off the bench. I don't think Eric Gordon would be starting. I'm pretty sure Kawhi would be starting at the small forward. Oh, I mean, I would guess actually Gordon would. It's a little bit of a small lineup, but Gordon would maybe be starting at the small forward, and then Kawhi would start at the power forward, and then the center would be Zubac, or a center competition between Zubac and Nurkic. I mean, that's not even looking at the Clippers roster, but that's what I think it would be. I mean, Scoot Henderson pairing up with Kawhi Leonard in that Clippers roster, I mean, it would be pretty nice. I mean, I would think actually Norman Powell would actually kind of start for the Clippers, and Norman Powell would be the starting small forward with Kawhi being at the power forward, and then either Zubac or Nurkic at the center. I think most likely in this trade, probably one of Nurkic, either Nurkic would be kept by the Clippers and Zubac would be sent elsewhere, or the Clippers would end up moving Nurkic after receiving him. But because I think the Clippers want to re-sign Mason Plumlee. But I do think that, I mean, the Clippers wouldn't be bad with Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, and Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, and either Nurkic or Zubac. And then they got off the bench Gordon, Terrence Mann, Bones Highland, Marcus Morris, everybody they got off the bench. It's not a bad team, but I think the Clippers are probably better off just keeping Paul George. I mean, definitely the Blazers are sending the Clippers a solid trade offer, but ultimately I think that the Blazers are gonna. Ultimately I think the Clippers are gonna want to keep Paul George. They're gonna try to test his value, see what teams are willing to give him, and I don't think Paul George is gonna have a lot of value. I mean, he'll have some good value, but I think Paul George is going to have not as good as value as he should be getting, just because he's 33 years old. He has 2 years left, only 2 years left on his contract. Paul George is not going to be, they can get something really good for Paul George back, but it's not worth it. I mean, they just keep Paul George and keep Paul with Kawhi. I mean, that's what I think would be the better thing for the Clippers to do. But that's just my opinion. But you guys have your thoughts. That's it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, and peace out.